Hi, I'm Christina, and this is a book review of The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. So, this is the prequel to The Hunger Games that was published last year, and I absolutely adored the Hunger Games series when I was younger. It was one of my favourite series at the time, and I have reread it quite a few times now. So when this was published last year, I was a little bit put off reading it because I'd heard so many mixed reviews on this book, and I didn't want to ruin the series for myself and just ruin the nostalgia and the love that I have for this series. But then I went to the library recently and it was just sitting there looking at me, and I thought, no, it's silly not reading a book just because you've heard some bad reviews of it. So I'm gonna give it a go myself and just see what I think of it. So this is the backstory of President Snow. This book is set just before the 10th annual Hunger Games, and we first see Katniss in the 74th annual Hunger Games. So this book is set 64 years prior to the main trilogy. And in this, Coriolanus Snow is 18 years old. He is just finishing high school and he's hoping to get a scholarship into the university. And the way to do that is to be a mentor in the Hunger Games. And he becomes a mentor for the female tribute of District 12. Now, the Snows have fallen upon hard times. He is very much from a very wealthy, opulent, famous family, but all of their wealth was tied into District 13. So for the last 10 years, they have been incredibly poor and they are very much struggling to meet ends meet. So even though he has this kind of backstory of how important the Snows were, he is basically living a very difficult life in terms of money, and he's trying to keep up appearances in the capital, and this is basically his only lifeline to go to university because they cannot afford the tuition. They can barely afford to put food on the table. So I rated this book 3 stars. I enjoyed it, but it isn't going to be a new favourite. For me, it lacked some of the magic of the Hunger Games, but it was very fun to be back in this world, and as I say, it was filled with nostalgia for me. There is also a lot of world building in this. We see a lot more about how the Hunger Games first came into existence. And we also see a lot more moral questions, philosophical questions surrounding the Hunger Games, and that was very interesting to see. And this book also has a huge host of characters that we are introduced to. We obviously see 24 tributes and we have a little bit of them, and we see all of their mentors, which are the 12 students who are capital students, and then there's just a whole host of other characters that are in the government and part of the games and who are teachers. So yes, lots more characters to meet in this story, and I enjoyed that aspect of it. So this story takes place over the course of a few months, and I will say that I was hoping that it was going to be set over a longer period of time. I was hoping it was going to be set over a matter of years or even a matter of decades. I think that would have provided a lot more scope and a lot more story to really see the unravelling of his character and his personality, and just to see him kind of age and mature and just see a lot more about who Coriolanus is as a character. As it stands in this book, we see him develop over the course of about 2 to 3 months. And that is a very short time frame to see a person change. And there was definitely times where I thought the pacing of this book was a little bit off for me. So there was times when it was very, very slow, and there was many chapters, long chapters dealing with the Hunger Games. And then there was other times when the pace was incredibly fast, especially towards the end. So for me, this book felt a little bit stop-start, as we were like, really fast with some of the pace, and then very, very slow with some of the pace. And I will say that overall, I think it was a little bit unnecessarily long in places. I think it could have done with a little bit of editing. Some of it went on for a very long time, and there are a lot of songs in this. We see songs from the Hunger Games, which I liked, but we were repeating songs and reading them again. I did enjoy the inclusion of The Hanging Tree as a song, because I really enjoyed that from the first one, and I really enjoyed the meaning behind it. It's quite a deep song in the lyrics, so I enjoyed that. So I do love a good villain backstory as a concept, and it was definitely difficult at times to see the Coriolanus Snow presented to us in this story and then match him with the man we know he will become in the Hunger Games. And I very much enjoyed seeing the different aspects of his personality, and it definitely gives you the opportunity to delve into who he is as a person when he was younger, and to just see a very different side of him, to see him with his family, with his grandmother and his cousin Tigris, who you will remember from the Hunger Games. So it was nice to see a familiar face pop up, and then also to see how he is at school, how he is with his teachers, with his classmates, and then also to see how he is with Lucy, and try and see this almost kind of romantic side of him. And I thought that was very interesting. But as it is a prequel, and this is obviously the curse of all prequels, we do know the man he will become, and we do know how this story ends ultimately. So all of the twists and shocks and surprises that could have been there obviously don't exist. And we know even when he seems to be in mortal danger, we know obviously that he will be okay, because we know where this story is going to end. So that is obviously a little bit of a shame, and it does kind of downplay how exciting some of the aspects of this story could be. But obviously that is going to be the same with any prequel that exists. So I did think it was very interesting to see Snow's character in such a way, but there was definitely times when I thought he changed very quickly in terms of the book. So in terms of the ending, he seemed to be presented in one particular way in the morning, and then by the afternoon he was a whole new person. And maybe that is to show who he is as a person. He can be very fickle, and he's obviously very narcissistic and is very much on self-preservation. And it was a little bit jarring to see how quickly his opinions and ideas and plans for the rest of his life can just change just like that. So that's what I thought of this book. Some of my thoughts were a little bit all over the place there, but overall I did enjoy my time with this book. Is it a little bit too long? Yes, I think so. Is some of it a little bit irrelevant? I also think so. And I'm not sure how much it actually adds to the Hunger Games trilogy. They definitely do stand alone, and I don't think that you do need to read this additional book. But if you do really enjoy the world, then definitely give it a go. I definitely don't regret reading it, but I also don't think that I gained that much by reading it. But it was very fun to be back in this world and to see a little bit more of who President Snow is. I think at times I didn't particularly buy the romance, but I still enjoyed seeing how it was going to progress. I think there were probably other characters that I would have rather seen a backstory on. I think that would have been Haymitch. I would have been most interested to see his backstory, maybe see him just before he joined the Reaping, and then just to see who he is after he obviously won his games, and then throughout the years, and then as he started joining the rebel movement. I think that would have been a very interesting story. This was still interesting, but I don't think as interesting as that one could have been, because ultimately he's not really changed that much now, has he? I will say though, yes, I think it would have been better to have done this over a manner of years. I would have been interested to see as he ages. So he's obviously 18 here and he's about 80 something in the main trilogy. So you've got a good 50, 60 years that we could have covered, which I would have quite liked to see, you know, his kind of, the way he goes up through the government and becomes the president. That would have been very interesting. We obviously get a glimpse of that at the end. Certain things are explained. So yeah, I enjoyed this book overall, and if you have read it, definitely let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below. I'd love to chat to you about it. Whatever your feelings were on it, I'd love to hear what you thought of it. So thank you so much for watching. I will leave some of my other book reviews down below just in case you'd like to see any of those. If you liked the video, please do like it. And if you'd like to see more of me talking about books, please do subscribe. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.